Hi knitters, welcome to episode 84 of the Knitty McPurly podcast. I'm Devin Ventry. You can find me at knittymcpurly.com. I'm Knitty McPurly over on Instagram. And if you want to email me, you can find me at devin@knittymcpurly.com. It is really rare that there is so much light coming in that I have to close the blinds. But there is. So there are these little chinks through which I'm being adorned. How's everybody doing? It is Sunday. Apparently Sunday is the new day that I podcast. It's just become really busy. Like swim team is a whole thing. I know people who do this every summer and I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's crazy. So Sunday it is anyway. The weather here is amazing. It was so cold out this morning that Rocky did not even want to go outside and do his business. He was like, oh, it's cold. It's like 59 degrees, sunny, as you can see. It's beautiful today. Go get an advent calendar. If you have not ordered one already, there is a pre-order up on my website. That's going to be really fun. It's DK weight this year. It's going to be something different. Go get one if you have not already. Life has been a little bit crazy. Like I said, there has been swim. This gigantic mug is, this is Gigi's mug actually. She's the baker. But this gigantic mug holds 2 cups of coffee. So I'm kind of in that's where I am right now. We went to early mass and now I'm ready for 2 cups of coffee to keep going. I woke the kids up this morning and they were like, oh, we don't want to get up again. Because swim meets start at you have to be there at 5:50 on a Saturday. Whew. Anyway, I mean, I'll get up to knit, but swim meets, it's painful. But anyway, it's been kind of a difficult couple of weeks. I have found that post-cancer is harder than active cancer treatment. I have found that the aftermath of cancer treatment is more difficult than active treatment. I don't know why. But when you're going through it, it's like this big tidal wave that you can't get off. You just have to ride it out. But then after that, you're kind of left choking on the shore. So it has been difficult. And I need to take it easy a little bit more. I am the kind of person who always is busy and does a lot of things. And I need to take a little bit of a break. So right now I'm focusing on working on the advent calendars and the stuff for the retreat in January. I have a few other shop updates. I have a pattern coming out, supposed to be coming out this weekend, but I am a little bit behind. So it will probably be sometime this week. But I'm just not pushing myself. I'm allowing myself to be where I am, which is not something I typically do. I don't ever really do that. So it's a good thing. It's just where I am right now. That's just this season of life. I was supposed to be doing this whole big thing this week and I'm not doing it. And I feel very grateful about that. So anyway, somebody messaged me about the Shenandoah Fiber Festival in Berryville. It's the weekend of September 23rd and 24th. And so I looked this thing up and I found that they're you can be a vendor, you can go and have a big, thing there. And I was like, this is not the year. Maybe next year I will do that. I don't even know for sure if I'm going to go. I would like to go, but I'm going to have to just see how it all plays out. I'm trying not to overcommit myself. So, okay, progress and shop news. There will be a shop update next week. I have some fun things that are going to go in that shop update. I have some new things that I'm waiting to arrive, and they will be in there. I'm not exactly sure what day next week it will be, so sign up for the newsletter, and you will be able to shop first. There's also a special code for newsletter subscribers to get a discount. So if you let me visit your inbox, I would be more than happy to share that discount with you. Oh, apparently I was going to talk about all the details of that shop update. I'm going to have the Devon scissors with leather sleeves in a new color for summer. This is a really awesome pair of scissors made by Kelmscott Designs. I put up on my website, made in the USA, but the truth is that some of these things are made in Canada by amazing small businesses there. So made in the USA and in Canada by your lovely small businesses. So the scissors are from Kelmscott Designs, which is Canadian, and the sleeves are from Jen Yun Leather, and she's also Canadian, and she just does such an amazing job. I've talked about her stuff before. I, of course, don't have any with me right now, but I will put up pictures while I'm talking. I'm going to have those in stock with the new shop updates, so definitely go sign up for the newsletter to find out about that, and you'll have to wait and see the new color. I did get some of the ochre also. There will be some in that color, but then there's the new color. It's very exciting. I will also have wool wash in 3 sizes. I decided to do, for the samples, the sample is about an ounce. It's like a single use sample. So I will have those for sale if you don't want to spend $50 and get one for free, which you can do if you want. But if you want to buy them, I don't know, they won't cost very much. But if you want to buy, just to try it out and see if you like it before you want to commit to a bigger bottle. But I will also have wool wash in 4-ounce bottles and 8-ounce bottles. So the 8-ounce bottle is more of the kind of knitter's size, but the 4-ounce bottle is really good because if you're knitting a gift for someone and you want to include a bottle of wool wash, this is a good size. The sample size is also a good size too, considering that people don't wash their things all that often. But I will have all of those up with the shop update. So the sample, like I said, I will have them for sale. I feel like it's probably going to be $2 for the sample. It's $8 for the 4-ounce bottle and $16 for the 8-ounce bottle. So depending on what size you want. But if you spend $50 on your order, I will send you a free sample. And all of these are in the peony scent. And the scents are going to be seasonal. So every season change, we'll have something new. Yay! Yeah, I have been really busy with the retreat and the advent calendar. So my shout out last week of asking people to respond helped a lot because I heard from a lot of people. That was really great. I love that. I just talk to me. I'm not like some big corporation with a, customer service department where your name goes, over the cliff and into the black hole. It's not like that. Like I know your names. If you've responded to me, I remember. So, and also I think the husbands are going to have a great time down at the Buttered Biscuit and doing whatever else they want to do, hiking or whatever. The Biltmore is nearby, just with regard to the retreat, the Biltmore is nearby too. I did a podcast a few weeks ago about that. So if you're coming to the retreat and you haven't seen that podcast, go check that out. So yeah, but anyway, I've been really busy. I've been dyeing up advent calendars. And it is a lot because I made more of these than anything I've ever done other than knitting patterns, which is, that's kind of, you do it once and then people can buy as many as they want. But this it's a big project if you make a normal amount of them. And this time I made an abnormal amount. I made a ton. So I'm testing out the supply and demand. And I think in the future, I probably will try to meet the sellout demand because there's, when you have your own business, you have to think, well, how many of these things do I make? How many people want them? I fully expect to sell out of these anyway because they are going to be for sale up through Advent. And if there are a few left after that, they will still make a great kit after that. So I fully expect that. However, I probably will not be making this many in the future So if you're thinking, well, maybe I'll wait till the next one might sell out. And I do have people still messaging me about the Lent calendar saying, gosh, that was so amazing. It turned out so great in the end. Can I get that yarn? And I'm like, it was a one-time thing, because it's hard to dye 40 mini skeins for 100 people. That's hard to do. And I love doing it. It's really fun. It's just, it's a balancing act. Having your own business is a balancing act. So there's that. I mean, I really haven't been knitting very much. In fact, I went to lunch with my friend the day before yesterday. And I was wearing a shirt that I had made and a skirt that I made. And she was like, wow, did you make that outfit? I'm like, yeah, like 5 years ago. I was like, I don't have any time to sew anymore. And she's like, oh, because you're so busy knitting. I was like, nope, don't have time for that either. Yeah, it's just been really busy. And like I said, post-cancer treatment is a whole nother thing. It makes me realize that I need to have more patience with others, because I'm hoping people will have patience with me. So I need to extend that to others as well. And, just thinking in my own life experience. So anyway, that's where I am. So here's a little poetic justice story for you. I think you guys will like this. Oh, I have so here's what happened today. Yay! That's going to be so exciting. That's going to be at the end. So I'm going to put my little poetic justice story in with progress and shop news, because this happened this week and it was a big deal in my life. So every year, my oldest daughter goes to this camp in Ohio where her cousins live. My brothers, the whole family lives in Ohio. They all go to this. It's this Catholic week-long, awesome, fun camp that they do every year. So my chemo-addled brain last October thought that I signed her up. And so that was done, like crossed off the list. So I log in earlier this week to pay for her camp. And I see that I had not signed up. I was on the wait list. Okay. Are you seeing where this is going? She was only on the wait list. Like, we have a plane ticket for her. Like, we have scheduled our July around this camp. Okay. So I look in my email and I'm like, well, surely there's an email in here somewhere saying you got off the wait list, because some of her cousins had gotten off the wait list. I was like, oh, that's great. Alexis doesn't need to get off the wait list because she's going. I already signed her up, which of course was not true. So I log into their website. This is how I find all this out. I log into the website to pay. It's not there. They have this internal messaging system that does not somehow connect to my email. I'm not sure what happened there. But what are they going to do? Are they going to come knock at my door? I mean, how are they supposed to let me know? So back in May, the spot came open on the wait list for her, and you have 72 hours to accept it, or you're out. They move on to the next person. So I missed that, of course, because I didn't see the email, which of course is not my fault, but it's not their fault either. It just happened. So I sent them an email, like on my knees, pleading, please give her a spot. Can she please come? And you guys, they were so nice about it and so understanding. I mean, it was pretty much my fault from beginning to end, really. Like, if we have to place blame on anyone, it's my fault for not realizing I was on the wait list instead of having signed up. It's my fault for not knowing I had to log in, I guess, and find my message. Because in the past, she's been on the wait list in the past and they've emailed me. So I don't know what happened. It was just a miscommunication, but they had mercy on me. And that's really good for me, because I don't know, this is my first time having to put on a retreat, and I don't know how to handle things like, and someone like paying late or getting in touch with me late, like that's all fine. I can work with that. It's just the people who don't respond. And it's funny because after I said all that last week about respond to me, like I need to hear from you, I got people who probably just forgot about the payment and just was like, they were like, click, and I put it in. And then it was like, okay. Because once you commit with $350 total, that is an amount of money that you're probably not going to forget. I wouldn't forget that. this camp that my daughter's going to is more than that. And just like once I've paid, like once the person is paid, they're in, they're committed. So anyway, it was a poetic justice moment. It was really good for me. And the whole time I'm recognizing, like, I'm now on the other side of this. I'm that person begging for mercy. But yeah, they were so great about it. So hopefully I will be as gracious as they were. Anyway, okay, topic of the week. This week, I want to talk about beautiful things. I made a personal realization recently. I think, I'm trying to remember exactly how I realized this. I don't really remember, but it happened when I was cleaning my house. And I recognized that if I clean up a room and when I'm done, that room still looks like garbage, I am 0% motivated to clean that room up because I don't like to clean. Shocker. I don't like that. I think it's boring. I don't like to do anything boring. Of course, there's lots of boring things in life that we have to do, like clean. But if I had to choose, I would not want to clean up something that doesn't look good in the end. And so I recognized, and probably because I've been reading Jordan Peterson's second book, I still haven't read his first book, 12 Rules for Life. The second book is called Beyond Order, 12 More Rules for Life. And they're so good. Like, I don't know what the first book is full of because this one is so good. I don't know how I missed this stuff the first time. But it's just kind of gotten me thinking because he has one of the sub points is about making a room in your house really beautiful. And I thought, I am motivated by beauty. If something looks good, I am motivated to keep it looking good, to make it look good, that motivates me. And so this week I recognized that my dining room was like 2 clicks away from being a beautiful room. But because I homeschool, and up until recently, I mean, my youngest child is about to be 8. But up until recently, I've had young children and we've needed like an extra table to dry art projects or to do art projects or to paint or whatever. So my dining room table has had this just like, it's not a plastic cover, it's a tablecloth, but it's like a vinyl wipeable table cover that's fitted. And that lives on there all the time to protect it from all the little people. But I found that we haven't been using it. What would happen is people would dump stuff on it and then just walk away. So my room that has nice furniture in it and it has a beautiful piece of artwork on the wall. As I'm talking, I wish I had a before picture. I got to see if I can dig up a before picture because it was 2 clicks away from being a really nice room. So I decided earlier this week, I was like, we're not using this room for any reason other than to dump stuff. And that's ridiculous. Like when you walk right in the house, it's like the first room you see, and it's this dumping ground. Why? So went over to Home Goods and I think I bought 4 items. 2 side chairs, which came as a pack, actually. They were a pack of 2. And they're this modern style that doesn't really go with my house, but I like eclectic designing. I'm not really talking about knitting, but I'll get there. I like mixing design styles. I don't necessarily feel like if you like one style, your whole house has to be that same style. I like to mix. So I got these really awesome, modern, lightly upholstered chairs for the end chairs because one of them got stolen by my daughter. It's in her room. And the other one broke because a kid knocked it over and it fell apart. So we've been living without any chairs on the ends, so it makes the table a lot less usable if we wanted to have people over. I put chairs on the ends, I put a vase in the middle, and a table runner, and that's it. Took off the ugly cover, which we'll keep for when we do have people over and we want to do an art project in there. It's nice to have it, but for just having this room be a room in the house, if we're not going to use it, it's going to be pretty. And every time I walk by there, it fills me with joy. Like sometimes the rest of the downstairs is a disaster and I walk by there and it's just this refuge of beauty. If you're not going to use the room, why not make it pretty? And thinking about beauty, how it's both in the eye of the beholder in one sense, because when you say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, what you're saying is there is something else that is compelling you to love or to see the beauty other than the beauty itself. Like if you look at Mother Teresa, for example, I had a philosophy professor in college who would say, now let's look at Mother Teresa. She's an old, wrinkled hag, which is hilarious. I think if she were here, she would laugh because that's hilarious and ridiculous that anyone who looked at Mother Teresa would say she's incredibly beautiful. But it's because of other things other than like traditional physical beauty that make her beautiful. It's because of who she is and who she was. She died, obviously. Who she was and what she did, and her face and what her connection with God and her ability to show that to other people is what made her beautiful. So it's kind of like you can take anything, and if you mix love in there, you're going to end up with something beautiful. So that makes beauty is in the eye of the beholder a true statement. That's one sense of beauty. But then there's another sense of beauty, which is like intrinsic beauty. Like another book I was reading recently was C.S. Lewis's The Abolition of Man, which is a great philosophy of education if you have any interest in that. But one of the points that he makes at the beginning of the book is that a waterfall is beautiful. And if you were to call it pretty, that would be an insufficient word. That's not the right response to something that is intrinsically beautiful like a waterfall. Look at me going all philosophical on you. But it just, as always, I feel like I'm kind of stirring up this topic. My goal is rarely to lead you to a conclusion, because I'm not exactly sure what that conclusion would be. These thoughts have been stirring up in my mind, and I'd like to stir them up in your mind too. Brief aside, sometimes I have a hard time finishing a sentence, and that drives me insane. I would watch back a podcast, and I'd be over here, and then I'd be over here, and that drives me absolutely crazy. But part of that is my personality, that I do get very excited about lots of things. But part of that is the chemo brain. And a year later, you expect that to be gone. And the fact that it's not is very frustrating. So bear with me. With regard to knitting, so all of these thoughts about beauty are rushing around in my mind. With regard to knitting, if you don't love it, don't do it. If you're working on a project that you don't really want to do, or that you don't think is going to fit, or you don't think it's going to turn out, and there is that little bit of, well, maybe it will, it'll block out, right? There is that, but Charlotte, you're unignorable. All right, go get your toilet paper, weirdo. Maybe. But if you're doing something that doesn't bring you joy, that doesn't make you happy, that you feel like, I get to work on this beautiful, beautiful object, don't do it. It's okay to set it aside indefinitely, or to rip it out, or to whatever. It's okay to set it down. I'm kind of in a phase right now where I'm not doing a lot of knitting. And it's not because of a lack of inspiration or a lack of beautiful inspiration. I feel like I have a lot of ideas. There's just kind of a disconnect between my mind and my hands. They're not working together. My brain, my mouth, my mind, the rest of me, I'm just kind of like, woo, nothing's really gelling right now, but it's okay because it will. So with regard to our word of the week, I thought we would talk about beauty. I didn't go into a huge depth here because this is a word like love. Beauty and love are words that, and any probably great virtues, are words that have that perfect meaning, but that become corrupted over time by use in different ways, by being misused. Like to say, I'd love a Diet Coke, or I love those shoes you're wearing. I mean, even the Greeks had like 4 words for love. And I guess the very bottom one would have to cover those things, but we only have one in English, sadly. So beauty is kind of like that, but its basic definition is a combination of qualities such as shape, color, or form that pleases the aesthetic senses, especially sight. So that's interesting. It's interesting to kind of apply that definition to ugly is the new beautiful, because you could say that something that is not traditionally beautiful, which I guess is what I mean, if it interests your sight, is that pleasing? Is being interesting visually the same as being pleasing? Can something be not traditionally beautiful, but still be beautiful in one sense? I guess. So beauty comes from the Latin bellus, which means beautiful or pleasing to the senses, or charming, which is interesting because I think of something charming as it doesn't have to be. Something could be charming and be genuinely charming, like a 3-year-old child is kind of charming in a genuine way. But charming can also mean something that's fake, that is pleasing but not real. Anyway, that comes from the Old French beauty, B-E-A-U-T-E, which went quickly to the Middle English beauty, just as we spell it. So that's kind of it's a stirring up of the topic and a very surface level delving into the word. But I do love to get philosophical. That's always fun. So thank you so much for, listening to me pontificate on that. Okay, knitting fantasies. So I did my usual search for knitting patterns that I haven't seen before, and I found that Webs, which all of you I'm sure know about, is a yarn store, knitting store. It has like a brick and mortar location. I don't remember where that is. You're probably yelling it at the screen right now because everybody knows where it is, but I can't remember. But they also have a really big online presence. They have a bunch of free knitting patterns. Isn't it funny how when a store has a logo that doesn't have like modern branding, you get kind of an idea about them as being kind of old-fashioned? I do anyway. Do other people feel that way? Like when Webs has a non-modern logo, and that's really all that I've seen of their branding. Maybe there's more that more exists, but I haven't seen. I've only seen their logo. But if you go to their site and you look up free patterns, they have a lot of them, and I'm going to highlight 3 of them right now. The first one is called the Swell Shorty Socks, and these are fingering weight shorty sock. Actually, I think they're just called Swell. I think I added shorty socks. They look scrappy, but because Web sells yarn, they link, the yarn that you can get to make them look exactly like that. But if it were me, I would totally use scraps to make these socks. You can add pom-poms. There are pictures of them with pom-poms. They are knit top down, and they are mosaic knitting, which is super easy color work. If you haven't done mosaic before, I highly recommend it. This pattern comes with only a chart. It does not have written directions to go with it. The only thing that's really like something to keep in mind with knitting from a mosaic chart, typically they look like a stranded knitting chart, but the first color on the chart is the color that you're working with. You're going to be slipping the other, if another color is shown, you're just slipping the stitch from the previous row. It's so simple. If you've never done it before, it's so easy. It's a really fun way to do color work. My second pick is called the Diane sweater. This sweater is super cool because it is knit sideways. I don't know if I got the impression that it is knit completely sideways, and then in the end you fold it over and you do the top, and then you just sew down the side seams. I don't know for sure though. I didn't look at the pattern other than to see that it is knit sideways, but it has this really awesome lace at the top, and I didn't see a seam. I don't know if one exists. I feel like you're knitting the whole sideways sweater and then you just whoop, fold it in half, but it's really cute. Looks really fun. It says one piece, so that would imply to me that you're not sewing the front and the back together. And then you also pick up the lower band at the end after you seam it all together. This uses DK weight yarn on US 5 needles, and it goes up to a 56-inch bust. My third pick is the Winona scarf, which is very, very simple. I really love the simplicity of this scarf. I think it would be great to knit something like this with a yarn that you really love. This would showcase a speckle or a variegated yarn really well because it's so basic. It's DK weight, very luxurious, very simple, knit in mistake rib. The yarn that they use is a very special yarn. It's wool alpaca silk blend. I didn't write down the percentages, but I feel like it's like 20% silk, 20% alpaca, 60% merino. It's a really, really fancy blend. So it takes about 1,000 yards, which is going to be approximately maybe 4 or 5 skeins of yarn. But yeah, could totally highlight that special yarn that you have been waiting to use that you just happen to have 5 skeins of laying around. Okay, so here's what happened. I have a fabulous story to read you today. A lot of times I embellish as I'm reading, but this one is so beautifully written that I'm going to try not to. It's hard for me because I like to talk, but I'm going to do my best just to straight read it because it is so beautifully written. Okay, I'm ready. This is from Debbie Hassler, who is from Indiana. Thank you so much, Debbie. This is a great, great story. I hope the rest of you hear this story and say, I have a knitting story too, and send it to me because I'm out. After this one, I don't have any more. And I record this podcast every week. So please feel free to send me a story and I would love to read it or show it or whatever. She calls this story A Kindness That Touches Generations. My mom grew up on a small farm in southern Illinois that was 10 miles from the Wabash River and the nearest town. Every Friday, she and my grandfather would drive into town to do their trading, which is what they called shopping and other financial exchanges. My grandfather liked to pay his bills in cash, so he would first stop at the bank, withdraw the needed money, and then proceed to each office to visit each office or store to settle up his accounts. He did not like having any debt, so this assured him that each matter was personally satisfied and each debt or bill was paid. When my mom was about 12 years old, she remembers a particularly significant trip into town with her father. Because she was very responsible and it was a safer and simpler time, she was allowed to stop in at the town 5 and Dime to have a look around while her father went about his business down the street. 5 and Dimes in that day offered everything from horse dewormer to hair curlers, and they usually had what we today would call a crafting aisle, where you could find stamped embroidery blocks for quilts, patterns and crochet cotton for doilies, sewing supplies, and a small sampling of yarn, hooks, and knitting needles. On this particular day, my mom, who was already a talented embroiderer and sewist, spent most of her time in that crafting aisle of the store where she perused all of the needlework supplies. The store clerk came by to ask if she needed help finding anything, and further asked my mom if she knew how to knit. No, my mom replied. Well, said the clerk, if you have a few minutes, I can show you how to do the knit stitch. With that, the clerk pulled out some yarn and a pair of straight knitting needles and taught my mom how to knit and purl in the middle of that small store. Now, of course, the clerk may have been hoping to make a sale of yarn and knitting needles that day, but Mom doesn't remember her being pushy at all. She recalls the clerk being generous with her time and knowledge, and she offered to further assist her with future questions and new techniques. My mom talked my grandfather into purchasing a pair of knitting needles and a hank of yarn that day, and she began a lifelong love and practice of the needle arts. When I was 10 years old, she used the skills taught to her in that 5 and dime to teach me the knit and purl stitches. My love for knitting has continued throughout my lifetime. I am now in my 60s, and I've shared the basics with my own kids who now enjoy knitting as a relaxing hobby, not holiday. I am looking forward to teaching my grandchildren to knit when they are old enough and hope that they will love it as much as I do. It just goes to show how a few moments and some simple supplies can reach far beyond the present and touch people for years to come. This long tradition of knitting in our family began because a kind store clerk took a few moments to teach a young girl how to knit. I am so thankful. Wow, that was such a good story. There is so much in that story. Like the things that we take a few minutes to teach a 10 to 12-year-old kid, that can affect them for their whole life. In this case, it was knitting, and it's generational. Her mom learned to knit. She knows how to knit. She taught her own kids, and she's going to teach her grandchildren. Wow. That was an amazing story, Debbie, amazingly written story. Thank you so much for sharing it. If you also have a story that you'd like to share, please send it to me. You can email it to me, devin@knittymcpurly.com. Lately, I have been better at responding to email than Instagram. I haven't been on Instagram as much. I feel like my followers aren't seeing my posts. I still need to post, but yeah. So anyway, this is awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you'll join me again next week. Send me a knitting story. Go get an advent calendar. All right, guys, see you next week. Bye.